I grew up down an old dirt road in a town you wouldn't know.
Hi again, everybody. This is Joey. I had a friend that makes knives right down the road from me in my neighborhood, and he doesn't have a name for it, I don't think, but he made it out of 01 tool steel. It's a pretty crude Kydex sheath. He is just getting into learning how to make Kydex and buying the Kydex press and all that kind of stuff. A lot of guys can do that, so that wasn't his number one thing. His number one thing was to try to make a knife, and he did really well with the materials that he had to use. In other words, his heat treat was a fish fryer, which I thought was pretty interesting. He went into details with me that I'm not going to go into on the video, but I was very proud of him for this. His name is George Broadway, and he's a neighbor of mine, and he's a mechanic, and so obviously he's good with his hands. But you know, the sheath, he just melted it down and redid a Kydex gun sheath holster, and I kind of like it. I like the crude look to it. It looks tough, you know. It looks like just no holds barred type sheath, and it has a very good retention, you know, and the knife's not going anywhere. So anyway, I'll give you the specs on it in just a second. I'm just going to show it to you. It reminds me a lot of a SE4, but with a way better handle. It's just black micarta with orange liners, kind of like your SE4. And it has jimping on top, which feels about like the SE's jimping. It's not real aggressive, but he did not go deep either, which was impressive. I didn't even know this guy was into knives, so I'm just giving him a props where I think they're due. And anyway, you see how thick the handle is. I mean, the SE's handle is, you know, basically you take off one of these micarta slabs, leave the liners, and that's about what the SE's handle is. But anyway, I'll digress on that. The blade is made of 01 tool steel, like I said. And, you know, something I just wanted to throw out there about 01 tool steel. It is one of the most, if not the most, from what I understand from a few knife maker friends and what I've read, easily, it's one of the easiest steels to make knives out of. It's very easy to machine and melt down and do everything you need to do for the process of making knives. So anyway, I wouldn't ever pay what a custom knife maker wants for 01, and I would never pay for 01 in any ridiculous price, especially Spyderco's 01, because in their old bushcraft model, I just think it's way overpriced because I don't think 01 steel is that great. Is it tough? I mean, to me, in my applications and using this one, yeah, it's tough. It keeps a working edge really well, but it won't keep a razor edge. This is decent. It's relatively easy to put a razor edge back on it. I mean, this just a quick discussion. It's kind of like, just get a piece of magazine paper. Oh, that looked good. I'm trying to get it in the camera, so it's kind of hard to, you know, it's not, you know, I've done cut with it some, so I stropped it a little bit, and that's about it. And that's with a convex edge at 3/16 inch spine. I convexed it. You know, I barely sharpened it on a Spyderco. I started with the Spyderco, but he ended up with a 25-degree angle instead of, I thought he meant, anyway, I thought it was a little thinner. But 25 degrees is actually pretty good for 01, especially if you're going to be using it for rough tasks like he does. And he uses it at work as a mechanic, so hey, more power to you. That's pretty cool. But anyway, this is with the way it looks in my hand, and I wish I could make this. You know, I'm gonna learn sooner or later, but I'm a perfectionist, and he is too. This is only like his second knife he ever made, so I thought for his second knife, hey, that's pretty cool. And I don't know if this will pick up, but the polish, it actually polished up pretty good, except near the tip. You know, the tip's always the hardest part to get sharp and right past that belly, and to get a good mirror polish on it. I don't care who you are, unless you're just somebody who does sharpening services for a living, like one guy on YouTube does them for a living. And anyway, I understand that. But anyway, so let's just go through the specs real quick, because I asked him to borrow this knife to do a video on. I wanted to use it and then clean it up. So I used it and I cleaned it up. And it performed just as good as any other 01 steel that I've used. This blade is a little over 4 1/4 inches. I mean, you're almost, no, it's 4 1/2, I'm sorry. And the cutting edge, let's see if I can do it this way. It's just quicker. 4 1/4. So 4 1/2 inches exactly. 4 1/4 inch blade, cutting edge blade, which is great. And in my eyes. And then your handle is precisely 4 1/4. So you're looking at 4 1/2 by 4 1/4 is 8.75 inches. So it's a minimalistic everyday carry type knife. It's not really heavy either, and I haven't even weighed this or anything. This is a first for all this. So let's see what it weighs. It doesn't feel heavy, and it feels while it's a little bit of a, he contoured it nice, but he didn't contour this side of it. It still feels really good. It kind of is a little bit blocky, but it never caused hot spots for me. So that's a plus. 7.85 ounces. So it's a hefty little knife, and that's what I kind of like about it. Especially with the hardcore looking kydex sheath, the real crude kydex sheath. I think it kind of matches the knife, but the knife has been used. I mean, you can see, I don't know exactly what kind of coating he put on it. I forgot what he said. It's not a Cerakote, I don't think. And I don't think it's a normal powder coat. I'm not sure, but I know it's not a Teflon coating, because the knife basically before I used it was almost this beat up as far as the black coating goes. But anyway, I just wanted to show that it's a knife made by George Broadway. I was proud of him. I didn't even know he was into knives, and it just shows that if you put your mind to it, you can accomplish anything. And that's the motto of this video is you have a very nice looking knife here that was made with very minimalistic tools, and I think that's pretty cool. All you had to do, he ordered the micarta off eBay, and really cheap with the liners, and he just bought one of those belt sanders with the flat on the back and went to town. The recipes for heat treating are all over the internet for different steels, and some of them, it's really hard. You have to have a lot of different things to do it, and this is an oil quench, so it's not really hard to make with 01. And if all else fails, send it to Peter's Heat Treat is what my motto is. But anyway, yeah, so put your mind to it, you can accomplish anything. Pretty cool little setup. Just wanted to show that to y'all. Excuse me, props out to a friend of mine. God bless. Thanks, George.